Welcome to Leadership Diagnosis with Dr. Mike, brought to you by ExecuSpect Leadership Development, where we are developing successful executives by improving leadership perspectives. Trust is a very important aspect of the success of any organization, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking to you about the importance of trust. I'm quite certain that you are aware of how important it is to have trust within your organizations. Trust from your customers, trust from your suppliers, trust from your clients, and trust between employer and employee. But I want to bring to you today maybe a few truths that you may not be aware of. I'm certain that you're aware that trust, or a lack thereof, I should say, the lack of trust within organizations is costing businesses hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in employee turnover. There are two percentages. If you are a manager, a business owner, a CEO, there are two percentages that you need to be greatly concerned about these days. And those percentages are these: 82%. And 50%. 82%, according to studies, 82% of employees do not trust their employers to tell them the truth. And 50% of employees are completely dissatisfied with their jobs and are considering leaving within the next couple of months. Now, we know that when people leave jobs, they don't really leave jobs, they leave leaders. When people leave, they are leaving their leaders. And so the 82% and the 50% have everything to do with employee turnover and the cost of replacing those employees, which is somewhere around, I think at maybe a nominal or a low end, 20% of an average employee's salary. It takes 20% to replace that person. So what do we need to do? What we're understanding is that there is a chasm. There is, if this is the leader and these over here are followers, there's a gap between leadership and followership. And we want to close that gap. And here's the problem. Many leaders are attempting to close that gap. They recognize that there is a problem between leader and follower, and they're wanting to regain that trust. They're wanting to rebuild that trust, but they're doing it the wrong way and are scratching their heads, wondering why they're not very successful in regaining that trust with their employees. And I'll tell you why that's true. Most leaders are leading exclusively out of their personality types. In other words, if a leader is a transactional leader, they will likely address problems through providing incentives or bonus programs or essentially bribing workers to do better. If a leader is an autocratic leader, he or she will lead with an iron fist and lead with fear and insist that workers do better. And so essentially what happens is the leader sits in this position here and encourages or demands that the workers in this position over here move closer toward the leader. You see, we're wanting that gap to close by providing things or demanding that our followers make that move, and that will never happen. It may happen momentarily or temporarily, but the most sustainable kind of leadership practice to close that 82% gap, to close that 50% gap, is for the leader to move from this position and close that gap his or herself, to get closer to the workers, doing leadership practices that are more sustainable and more effective. In my new book, The Chameleon Effect, Counterintuitive Leadership, I talk about these competencies that are so very important for a leader to learn, develop, and master. And it closes the gap, guaranteed to close the gap. But I will tell you, the challenge out there is for us to recognize what our personality traits are, how those traits are interfering with the vital competencies necessary for organizational success, and allow you to move closer and close that gap yourself as a leader. It will never work if we stand in our positions or sit in our offices and demand, proverbially, that the workers close that gap by saying, do a better job, or the rules say that you have to accomplish these things. Now, I'm not saying that we don't abide by policy and practices, but what I'm suggesting is leaders need to learn to lead better. Counterintuitive leadership is a philosophy that I practice, that I teach, and that I bring into organizations to help leaders be better versions of themselves so that they can create better versions of their workers and reach their organizational goals every time and reduce that annual employee turnover and reduce the cost that comes with it. Well, I hope you learned something today from this. And I look forward to seeing you again. Reach out to us if you have any questions. You can find us on LinkedIn through my name, Dr. Michael Rodebarger. You can find us on Facebook at ExecuSpect, and you can go to our website, ExecuSpect.com. I hope that you've gathered something. I'll bring something to you next time. Have a great day.